join. It is the Louisville Cardinals and the Kentucky Wildcats. The Wildcats and the Cardinals, they're coming up next. Lexington, Kentucky, everybody. This is one of the biggest early season matches of the young college basketball season so far. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I'm Brent Musburger. The last time CBS broadcast a basketball game from this arena, there was magic in the air. Villanova defeated Georgetown to win the national championship. It was one of the greatest upsets in the history of the event. Also in the air that night was talk about who would become the next head basketball coach at Kentucky. Only their third coach in 55 years. He's with me now live, Eddie Sutton. Eddie, how have you found this job at Kentucky? Is it even larger than you were expecting?
Well, I think so, Brent. You know, I've been happy everywhere I've coached, in Tulsa, and Idaho, and Creighton, and Arkansas. Lovely people, and they're lovely people here in the Bluegrass. And I've really enjoyed my first year on the job.
Now, Louisville comes in here. They are young, talented, and deep. Eddie, what are the keys to beating this team this afternoon?
Well, the keys, as far as we're concerned, is play good, solid defense and keep people out of foul trouble because they are deeper than we are. We got to minimize the number of turnovers because they got a great full-court press. They'll press 2-2-1. And I guess the third key is defensive board play. They're a great rebounding team, and if we give up a lot of second or third shots, it's going to be a long afternoon for the Wildcats.
All right, Eddie, good luck this afternoon.
Thank you, Brent.
The other coach is a fine one, too, Denny Crum. He is standing by with my colleague, Billy Packer. Let's go to Billy.
Thanks an awful lot, Brent. Denny, yesterday reading the paper after John Thompson's loss out to UTEP, he said nobody crowns the national champ in December. Is that the way you're looking at this game?
Well, I think sometimes you tend to get these rivalry games out of proportion. It's a great fans game, but this is still December, and whatever happens here, we beat them last year. It didn't seem to hurt them. They beat us the year before. It didn't hurt us then. So.
Well, you and Eddie go back quite a ways now. He had a pretty good number on you with Creighton and then down there at Arkansas. It's a different type of atmosphere between you two fellas, it seems to me.
Well, we've had good rivalries over the years. When he was at Arkansas, and take away a 50-foot shot from U.S. Reed, and a series would be about even.
Okay, the key to the ball game for you today, it looks like you've got a little bit of a rebounding advantage inside with your guards.
Well, we've got to stay out of foul trouble. They shoot a lot more free throws here than anybody else does, and I think that's the key for us. If we can stay out of foul trouble and keep them off the free throw line, I think we got a shot.
Well, I noticed one thing. You used to get 50 tickets to come into Rupp. Now you get 70, so it looks like they're making it easier for you.
We're gaining on it.
Okay, thanks, Denny. Good luck to you. Brent, back to you.
All right, Billy, thank you. It wasn't long ago when you could not invite these two schools to play each other. Now they do it on a regular basis, and we'll start the game in just a moment.
CBS Sports presents NCAA basketball. Today's game between the Louisville Cardinals and the Kentucky Wildcats is sponsored by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by the investment firm of Smith Barney. They make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it.
The depth and the size of Louisville, 6-2 against the guard-oriented offensive Kentucky, 7-1. Here are the five starters for each team. Jeff Hall out of Louisville, a great shooter. Roger Harden, of course, will direct the Wildcats. Milt Wagner is back after missing last year with an injury. Ed Davender in the backcourt for the Wildcats. Purvis Ellison is the freshman center. Kenny Walker, the big man down low for Kentucky. Billy Thompson, the maturing star of the Cardinals. Winston Bennett also coming along now for Sutton. Here's the mismatch. Herbert Crook is 6'7". James Blackman is 6'2". Can Blackman stay there? Now, when the Cardinals were introduced, it was a who cares by the Wildcat student body. They simply picked up the newspapers and refused to look at them, but they'll watch them now. And you can see that Kentucky leads this series 11-5, and last year in Louisville, 71-64, it was the Cardinals. So we're about ready to start again. And the Battle of Kentucky is underway. The Wildcats win the tap. One of their three guards, Harden, He will, of course, direct their attack much of the afternoon. Blackman wearing number 10. Walker is number 34. He scored 32 last year against Louisville.
Straight man-to-man out there, Brent. You notice that Kentucky does not play with a center. They keep that middle open so that their guards and their quickness can penetrate down the middle.
Kind of a weave. They get it inside. Blackman shot is 350. And Walker taps it in.
Should have been goaltending on Billy Thompson, and here's what makes Kenny Walker so tough. His offensive board work is just amazing.
Thompson, 55, bringing it across the timeline. Wagner is 20. He'll direct this Louisville attack. Comes through the left side. Gets Walker in the air and drew a foul. And Kenny can't believe it. The call was made from behind Kenny Walker.
I thought Milt Wagner got away with a little bit of a travel on that particular play. But Kenny Walker had his hands straight up in the air. Milt really showed that he's got his quickness back because he's being handled by a quick player and still moves.
In the Florida Citrus Bowl, the Buckeyes win 10-7. That is the second Big Ten team to win a bowl game. Minnesota has already won. That doubles their output of a year ago when Iowa was the only winner.
We're looking at a fella who is one of the nation's premier players in Milt Wagner, but Brent, it takes a while to get those game feet back again. He sat out the whole year. It's just a matter of time till he gets his whole game back.
Just underway, Kentucky and Louisville. That is the first point for the Cardinals. 2-1, a tap in by Kenny Walker, and here comes some of that pressure that we expect throughout much of the afternoon from Denny Crum.
2-2-1, full court zone pressure.
And they get a turnover, and here comes Wagner.
If you're going to play against Louisville and you can't handle a 2-2-1 pressure, you're out of business because they do it as well as anybody in the country.
Now Blackman looking for help, and again Louisville keeping the heat on.
And you see the steal, tried to penetrate through two. Crook has the long arms, feeds on off to Milt Wagner, layup.
Cavender coming up on Wagner. Louisville staying right there in man-to-man.
What Louisville does so well is they go from that zone press back to their man-to-man and never seem to lose sight of who the fella is they're going to guard.
Harden at the top of the circle. Bennett being banged in down low by Wagner, can't get free.
That's the mismatch right now. They ought to try to get that ball to Bennett.
Harden slipping around Cook, and he was fouled as he came around the corner.
That's a good job by Kentucky. They caught Louisville in mismatches. They didn't really adjust very well when they got back out of that zone press, and Harden really recognized it well and went right on down inside.
And the Blue Devils continue to impress. Denny Crum telling us yesterday that he thought that was the best team he has seen so far this year. And Michigan, of course, also comes up a winner this afternoon.
Now back to the regular assignments for Louisville.
Bennett, he got Thompson in the air, made the basket, and drew the foul. Score the field goal. Fine play by Winston Bennett.
Great job by Winston Bennett on the head fake. Got Billy Thompson up in the air and then realized that Thompson couldn't do anything about it when he was up there off his feet. Shows also the great strength that he has to take the ball inside, even though Billy Thompson had a hand right on him. Brent, Winston Bennett, the first fellow that Kentucky recruited out of Louisville for a long time. Payne had been recruited. It was a dozen years before another Louisville player moved down here to Lexington.
5-3, Kentucky leading Louisville.
Showing Louisville a little press of their own.
Here is Hall. He's open. He's a good shooter.
Want to move that up to Drake. I really think he's one of the best pure shooters in college basketball.
Cavender and Denny Crum complaining that there was an elbow thrown down inside.
Davis Ellison on Walker. Walker like to take him inside and post up a little bit.
Now Walker takes it all the way through to the other side. Ellison switches off. Wildcats keep possession.
There was a case where James Blackman had lost his dribble, so he couldn't have a good passing lane. Pretty nice defense by Hall.
Blackman. Here's Harden. On the bounce to Walker off one dribble. Didn't get the roll, pushing underneath.
That was on Crook, trying to keep Winston Bennett off the boards. Kentucky really does not have the power man inside, but they're so quick off their feet. Bennett and Walker have good strength.
And that is 2 fouls early on Crook, and immediately Denny Crum will go to the bench. And that, of course, is one of his freshmen getting ready, Tony Kimbrough, to come in. Walker back up with the field goal, his second.
Once again, that quickness of Walker on the inside. He is so tough to handle. Straight man-to-man, trademark Eddie Sutton's, and right now Kentucky is really taking it to Louisville.
Kimbrough replacing Crook with those 2 personal fouls.
Kimbrough replaces Herbert Crook.
Louisville sets up the pressure in the backcourt.
Kimbrough, another Louisville player, high school player, and didn't even work out this morning in the shoot-around. He had the virus attack, and Denny Crum didn't feel he'd even get a chance to play today.
Bennett dribbles it across for the Wildcats. Kentucky leading by 2, 7-5. Early minutes of the game. Blackman down the baseline and shoots the layup.
Gave Kimbrough a lesson.
Harden comes out on Hall. Hall bounces off of him. He's 1 of 2, and Kentucky with the rebound. It's Harden. And on the turnover, it'll go to Louisville. The one thing Sutton was stressing in practice yesterday was off the pressure defense. Be very careful on the break. In fact, don't shoot it in a hurry. He said you'll lose this game if you shoot quickly all the time. When I come across the midcourt line, slow it down with my offense. It's hard to teach youngsters that. It'll take some time here.
He'd like to keep Kentucky
intercepted. Walker inside, and he was fouled by Thompson.
That's Billy Thompson's second. I meant to say a second ago, Brent, on that good point that you made about Eddie Sutton's coaching technique, is that what he wants to do is to force Louisville to have to play some minutes defensively. Don't let them just press it and come down, fire up a shot. That way, you'll be spending the whole game playing defense against them.
Billy, one of the keys to this game was early foul trouble, and it has affected Louisville already. 2 fouls on both Crook and Thompson, both of their forwards.
Denny Crum has a nice bench, but it's very inexperienced, so he doesn't want to have to go to it in numbers. Not this early, anyway.
Harden trying to get it to Walker. Davender. Walker with an offensive rebound. Thompson. Off to Wagner missing, and Walker rebounds. Curtis Ellison is nowhere to be found underneath so far.
Bennett just eliminated him with a nice forearm there on that play.
And it'll go over to Louisville.
Kind of surprising, Brent. Right now, I think it's Louisville that has to slow up a little bit and get themselves in sync, because Kentucky's playing their style.
We've got a timeout. It's 9-5 Kentucky, and we'll be right back. In Lexington, it's never surprising when Kentucky takes a lead. Look at what they have accomplished through the years in their various gymnasiums. Here at the Rupp Arena, they have lost only 14 games since they inaugurated it back in 1976. Named after their legendary coach, Adolph Rupp.
Brent, can you imagine they went from 1943 to 1955, 129 games and never lost one at home.
And Kenny Walker has pulled down 4 of those rebounds, 3 of them offensive. Now, Ellison has not taken a shot yet in this game. He gets it outside to Jeff Hall, who has taken 2 shots so far for the Cardinals. Now they get into another freshman, Kimbrough. He is short with the shot, and Thompson underneath. Out of bounds, it'll go, and Louisville will put it in bounds. The crowd thought that Thompson walked underneath the basket, and I'm not so sure they weren't right.
Good athletic move that time by Winston Bennett, though. He showed strength, and there he is again, getting in the way defensively.
Now it is Harden. He is the only Wildcat who has not squeezed the trigger so far. Davender, he has taken 1 shot. Walker has had 4. He's hit on 2 of them, and of course he's been very potent underneath. Blackman, he is cut off by Thompson, and they send it back through Harden.
Thompson switches now. Louisville switching all over the floor.
Lavender short. Thompson rebounded.
Great hands by Billy Thompson.
Puts it right down on the floor, and as he comes through, Harden fouled him.
Billy is good in every facet of the game. He can rebound, he runs, he's a great passer, good shooter. I think the people maybe have expected him to score more, but that's really not his area that he's best suited for. He's just a total all-around ball player.
Well, we start the game with both teams shooting poorly. Louisville 40%. Kentucky less than that. Shot rejected by Winston Bennett. He stuffed Kimbrough that time.
Kentucky was zoning out of bounds.
And here is Bennett.
See Winston Bennett coming over from the weak side to help out on Kimbrough inside. Got a good piece of it.
That's 5 points for Winston Bennett and some strong defensive play at the other end.
Good lob.
Get into Ellison, who jams.
Great lob again. Billy Thompson's overall ability. Super pass inside. Ellison's showing a lot of poise, Brent. He's not trying to take the game to Kenny Walker. He's just relaxing out there, which is quite a sign for a freshman.
Kentucky leading by 4, 11-7.
Louisville really getting kind of confused on some of their matchups. They're switching with every man and allowing Kentucky to get some people open.
Harden missing. Thompson with another defensive rebound, putting it down. Quick pass to Wagner, out of bounds. Wanted Hall, the cutter, and it was not a good pass.
Really not there for Milt Wagner, particularly being behind at this stage in the ball game. He's better off just being a little bit more conscious of the ball control.
Now Mark McSwain checks in for Louisville, and Kimbrough sits back down.
You would have expected before the season that McSwain to be a starter, but he's been slowed by injuries to that knee. Before it's all over, you expect him to be in there. Good rebounder.
He's wearing number 10. Walk. Bennett on the turnover.
For Kentucky, number 42, Richard Madison replaces
So a reminder that tomorrow we've got the NFC wild card game, and it's a dandy. The 49ers and the Giants. The Giants with the home field advantage. They were eliminated a year ago, but that was in San Francisco. We'll start our coverage at 12:30 Eastern time here on CBS. And now Kentucky goes to the bench for the first time, and Richard Madison, number 42, is in there. Thompson missing with a finger roll. Ellison backs up and in, and Ellison quickly puts 2 field goals in, and that inside muscle starts to bring Louisville back. They have a size advantage.
I really think Richard Madison's got to have a big game today for Kentucky. Although they're in the lead right now, they're going to have to show they've got some strength in that middle.
Here he is handling the ball. Shoveling to Bennett.
A little bit shaky with that ball out front.
Wagner trying to front Walker. Muscle being used inside on the Kentucky star. Bennett drew the foul as he came in the air. It's on McSwain.
You notice, Brent, as you pointed out there, Wagner with Kenny Walker down on the inside. Louisville switches almost any time they're screened, and that allows for Kentucky to get some mismatches. And here, although Milt Wagner's fighting hard, if Kentucky had a little bit more patience, they would have been able to get Kenny Walker the ball inside. And although Milt Wagner's a good ball player, he's not going to handle him down there.
12:25 to go in the first half. Bennett has scored 5 already. And that free throw puts the Wildcats up by 3.
Winston, of course, a former Mr. Basketball, the state of Kentucky. Male high product. The legendary Darrell Griffiths.
Wagner bringing it up for the Cardinals. Bennett outside with Thompson. Ellison
nice
gets
hands.
into Thompson. And now many of Louisville's shots are coming from within 3 or 4 feet of the basket. And that's where they enjoy an advantage on this Kentucky team.
I really think it was important for Louisville, and they've been able to do it, is to slow down their offense and get into a little half-court offense. Fans complaining about the banging taken on in Kenny Walker on the inside.
McSwain this time is assigned to Walker, and he is whistled for the foul.
McSwain putting a body on him. Kenny Walker's just so active. Notice him fighting for position. McSwain trying to hold him off with a forearm. Gets called for the foul.
One of the plays that would work in this sequence is for Walker just to simply drop back about a step or two and to throw a little lob pass into him on the inside. There's no one defending him from the rear.
Like he hurt his back.
Coaches as to who they'd least like to see with the ball in the last few minutes. Here's Gene Bartow of UAB.
The 5 players that I would least like to have the basketball against our Blazers late in the game would be Kenny Walker, Kentucky, Kenny Smith at North Carolina, Mark Price at Georgia Tech, Pearl Washington from Syracuse, and probably Kenny Gaddison at Old Dominion. I think any one of these players, and I'm sure there are many others, could really hurt you in the closing seconds of any basketball game.
Just a moment ago, Billy, in this particular game, Winston Bennett sort of threw the ball right at Billy Thompson, objecting to something Thompson had done underneath.
Well, you know, there's a lot of pride on the line right here. There is the pass, Brent. And unfortunately for Kentucky, good defensive play by Louisville. Oh, nice pass by Ellison.
And Widener pays off.
A lot of people think Purvis Ellison's the best freshman in the country. And he showed you there that he's got some passing skill to go along with everything else.
That tied the game at 13 with 11:06 to go in the first half. Davender is 0 of 2 from the floor. Walker right now is 2 of 4. And Louisville has tightened up on him considerably defensively. Blackman missing. Knocked free. The Wildcats, and Blackman right back with the shot in the basket off the offensive rebound.
Kentucky rebounds very well offensively. Their guards are quick. They get down low and can go up in the air.
Here's Ellison in low.
Super hands.
Great play by the freshman.
Oh, he is really some ball player. He plays like a veteran. Savannah, Georgia prospect. I just wonder how he has been able to develop his total game. So that was some kind of catch with 2 excellent defenders against him. Has an opportunity for a 3-point play.
Madison's first personal foul. This has been a year for youngsters. If we go back to Wimbledon, of course, there was Boris Becker coming in there and beating all the tennis stars, and now we get Purvis Ellison coming along, and he acts like he's played this game for several years at the collegiate level.
In the NIT Big Apple tournament, he made all tournament.
Bennett open. Bennett with 3 field goals and 9 points, leading Kentucky. Nice. Ellison in. Thompson. Louisville let one get away from him inside, and Davender right back for Kentucky.
That's what Eddie Sutton was talking about yesterday in practice. If you don't have the layup, get it back out, and make Louisville work on defense.
Blackman inside, and rejected beautifully by Thompson. Ellison comes out, and here's Widener. It's 3-on-2. Thompson traveled.
Finding a lot of teams early in the season having a hard time getting the spacing on their fast break. There was a case where really Louisville had a 4-on-2 situation, and you ought to be able to execute that.
Roger Harden returning for Kentucky, and Blackman sits down. He's welcomed by Kentucky coach Eddie Sutton.
Louisville was able to pick off the very first ball that when they were in their 2-2-1 trap early in the ballgame. They haven't gotten one since.
Here's Madison. Thompson taking Walker this time. Davender.
Well, you like to see the ball go into the post, man, and get it right back out for the open jump shot.
Hall has been fairly quiet here in the last 5 minutes.
I think he's got a little better matchup now defensively with the size in the game with Madison.
Crook is playing with 2 personals, remember? Wagner got Bennett in the air. Missed the shot. Walker with another rebound. That's 5 for Kenny. Davender didn't have the shot, so we sent it back to Harden.
Kentucky has not been able to get the ball inside to Kenny Walker. Trying to set some screens for him in there.
So he had to come out and meet the ball that time. It's 1-on-1, Walker and Crook. Crook wins that round. Ellison with the rebound.
I think Kenny got a little frustrated. He hadn't touched the ball in a while. Playing Curtis Ellison up in that high post now, looking to dump down inside to Billy Thompson.
Crook will come out along with Ellison. And Purvis, Ellison, the freshman, goes to a splendid move off the dribble that time.
People are comparing him with Sam Perkins, great All-American from North Carolina. To be honest with you, I think he's a better player at this stage in his game than Sam was.
Here's Madison. A master blaster right back in their face that time. It's 21-18, Kentucky. Crook didn't get the roll. Harden rebounded. Daylight, and he passed to Walker, but he traveled.
Now Roger had the right idea. Just a pretty good defensive play by Hall, getting in the way.
That's 6 turnovers for Sutton and Kentucky, and 5 for Crum and Louisville. 7:15 to go in the first half. So with the score 21-18, Kentucky ahead. Let's take a break. You come to Kentucky and you think about thoroughbreds in college basketball and some old friends out at Claiborne Farm. Devil's Bag. There's the great spectacular bid, and all of you want to know, how's Secretariat doing? Well, he's doing just fine, thank you. That was filmed outside of Lexington yesterday afternoon. Magnificent animals stabled in the various farms around here. If you ever get an opportunity to drive down this way and see some of them, by all means, don't pass it up. Statistically, the key difference here from a scoring standpoint would be the forwards. Kentucky outscoring Louisville 15-2. And as a result, they lead in the game at 21-18. And on the steal, here comes Winston Bennett. And Denny Crum is saying, how did I ever let him get out of Louisville?
It doesn't happen often. Very small team in the game right now for Louisville. Very small.
Kenny Payne, the freshman, checked in. Billy, he's number 21. Of the 5 players on the floor right now for Louisville, only Hall has scored in this game.
Chris West in the ball game. Tough shot. It's a senior.
Hall hits that. And we get word that New England has just scored on Tony Franklin's field goal. They lead the Jets in the first quarter 3-0. Kentucky leading by its own version of a field goal here at the 6:14 mark in the first half.
McSwain looking right at Walker.
Tried to force the ball inside, and Madison's got it down.
A little lack of experience on Payne's part, just trying to get rid of the ball too quickly.
Chris West, 23, sends it to Payne. Missing.
Richard Madison got off to a good move on the break. He's a fellow that I can envision being in the starting lineup in time. Or certainly being the key 6th man for the Kentucky club.
Certainly against a taller team like Louisville, he'll get a lot of minutes. Walker missing. McSwain couldn't get a handle on it, and Kenny's got it back. Here comes Davender inside, left hand. Walker powering in, and the foul was called as he came to the glass that time. Offensive foul, trying to muscle in the missed shot.
Eddie Sutton going to the bench. Good move on the inside by Davender. West tries to get a piece of it, and here's Kenny Walker. You've got to block him out. You can't even worry about going for rebounds if you're around Kenny Walker, because he pounds the board so well. 2
fouls on Walker. He will sit down. And checking in is Cedric Jenkins, number 55. He is 6'9". They list Walker at 6'8". He probably is a shade taller than that.
Jenkins is another outstanding athlete. Hasn't really come along this year so well.
McSwain to West. Payne moving to the glass. Offensive foul is called.
There's a case of Payne just hasn't seen this type of competition yet, Brent. He's going to be an outstanding player, a great shooter, but you're talking about the big time now. You know, with Kenny Walker picking up that second foul, it's amazing over his career how many fouls he's picked up crashing the offensive boards, because he just never lets up.
Well, Thompson replaces Payne. Denny Crum with a couple of words for the freshman over there on the sideline. One of the trademarks of a Denny Crum team, it will always get better in February and March. And I've always thought that indicates a quality coach more than almost anything else. Does his team improve toward tournament time? And Denny Crum's squads certainly do that.
Well, you really had to like the demeanor there between coach and player. Then he took Payne out of the game, just told him what he had done wrong. Payne smiled, understands what the coach is doing. That's great rapport.
Wagner replaces Paul.
Ellison for McSwain.
And Ellison back in too for Louisville. Blackman at the free throw line with 4 points. He has hit 2 field goals. He has missed 4 shots. Hitting his first free throw of the game.
Kentucky picking up in that tough man-to-man pressure.
Davender tries to steal. Wagner moving the ball to Crook, who was the open man.
There was a case where Eddie Sutton tried to come out there and jump double team a little bit. Good ball movement by Louisville.
So a much bigger lineup has played most of the first half for Eddie Sutton here.
Looks like the points are going to have to come from Davender with his team on the floor.
Here is Davender open. Missing and up over the top is Winston Bennett, who is playing a fine game. That's his 5th field goal and a total of 13.
You talk about bragging rights. How would you like to go back in the summertime, being from Louisville, having to play against Louisville? That's a foul on Jenkins.
Trying a little too hard on Ellison underneath on that baseline.
But it gives Eddie an opportunity to use up some fouls here. Jenkins trying to keep Ellison out of there and just wraps him with the arm.
That's 5 team fouls on Kentucky at the 4:07 mark. Louisville over the limit much earlier.
West doesn't look to shoot the ball.
Thompson, Bennett was a little too aggressive defensively that time, and a patient Billy Thompson waited and just took it to the glass. You get the feeling that this is one of those games that's going to go down to the last 2 minutes, don't you? Blackman missing, loose, Louisville, Wagner out in front. It'll be 4-on-1. And West goes for the layup.
Good job by Davender, and West just didn't go for the fake. He knew the defense was soft and took it right to the hoop. Nice play.
Kenny Walker preparing to check back in for Sutton. You'll notice those goggles. Had his eyes scratched in the Kansas game, and he has been wearing them ever since. We'll be right back. 3 schools have the highest average attendance. Well, Kentucky leads the way, followed by Syracuse with the Carrier Dome and BYU. Louisville is 4th, and Billy, they'd be higher if they had a bigger arena up there.
They just added on to that arena, so I think they'll move up in the standings. Syracuse, of course, starting to draw up in that 30,000 range now, so maybe this gymnasium here is built specifically for basketball, however. No football played in here like in the Dome, but that Syracuse will turn them out also.
Kentucky will inbounds. 3:32, pressure from Louisville, trailing by 3. Blackman dribbles it across.
Still in trouble.
Now there were 2 men over there with 2 defenders, and they have not. Now they swing free.
Eddie Walker back into the ball game now, just trying to get some offense. I think Eddie Sutton recognized he's going to have a hard time getting some point production with that lineup he had.
Walker is being fronted by West. Bennett partially rejected, got it back, however. Inside to Walker. Oh, there was a message there.
Or get it. Kentucky had a hard time getting it into Kenny Walker, but he can go inside.
Ellison missing. Walker rebounding.
His goggles came off Kenny Walker. That's the 3rd time he's had an eye injury since he's been at Kentucky.
Showing you why many regard him as the #1 college player in the land this year. He has 9 rebounds already in the first half. Kentucky's ball.
There's a case where Walker just a little bit too strong for Ellison. Knocked the ball out of his grasp. Billy Thompson ready to start cleaning house inside.
Here is Walker again, rising up, and he was fouled by Thompson, who said, I just struck my hands right straight up in the air, and he broke that plane, and Denny Crum agrees with his player.
Well, you talk about the rule of verticality. The defensive player has the right to a position up above his head, whether his feet are on the floor or not. I thought what was interesting on that play, Brand, is the fact that although Walker missed a shot, he was right back there for an offensive rebound again.
And of course, Billy, at the end of the game, you and I will select the Chevrolet players of the game, and Chevrolet will donate a $1,000 scholarship to both Kentucky and Louisville. Here is an early candidate for a player of the game. 9 rebounds, 4 of them offensive. Missing, however.
Kenny's up to shooting about 83% on the year now from the foul line. Very good stat for a man that you know is going to go to the line. He actually holds the Kentucky record now. Broke Dan Issel's record for going to the line in fouls made in the course of a year.
Swain, number 10.
This is a pair.
Stepping inside. Cook with the rebound, and Milt Wagner. Louisville down by 5. This is their first test on a tough away court. Pushing inside. Madison. As somebody said, there are away courts and then there are away courts.
Well, they played up in the Garden. You'd have to consider that neutral during the NIT festival. Played 2 tough teams up there, though. Had to go up against St. John's and Kansas.
2 minutes left, first half. 31-26, Kentucky leading Louisville.
Now, Coach Iba's probably watching right now, seeing Eddie Sutton in the zone. Eddie trying to stay out of foul trouble. The rest of the way.
Paul. Madison rebounded.
That's a good move by Eddie Sutton, just trying to slow things down, make a little change. Denny Crum got the shot he wanted. You want Hall to take that jumper from the outside.
They're keeping it outside. Moving down the baseline was Blackman, rejected inside. Louisville coming back. Cook is free. And Walker got over beautifully on defense, and Cook still hit the shot.
Good job by both players. Cook was able to pull up there, and that was a tough play offensively, to pull up and take a soft shot. Eddie Sutton trying to hold this ball down now. He would have liked to be in a position to be able to run this clock out at halftime.
Madison pushing to Bennett.
Bennett's having his game of his life.
15 points here in the first half for Bennett. 6 for Walker, 6 for Blackman. The other end, 7 for Wagner. And a foul underneath is against Blackman.
Call on the official. The ball's in the air. Ellison is going to be off the ground prior to the time that Blackman established his position. Awful close to being a three-point opportunity. A three-point play opportunity. Great hands by Ellison. Doesn't he have good hands, Brent? Such great composure for a young player.
scored 10 points. Has a good-looking shooting touch at the free throw line.
It's a quiet 10, too. You know, he builds up those stats without occupying the ball a lot. Hasn't forced anything today.
Not rattled by the crowd here in Rupp Arena.
Well, we selected him as one of the 7 freshman impact players in the country this year, and he hadn't disappointed us in this game.
Madison regains the dribble.
Kentucky on a hole for 1 right here. Eddie Sutton's up off that bench. He wants 1 shot only.
He'd like to go in with a 5-point lead.
Down to 6, a clearing out for Blackman. Tough shot.
Rejected by Wagner. Back to Davender. 1 second. Oh! The end of the first half. And of course, coming up at halftime, we're going to take a look at Billy's Final Four factors. Who are the men who could lead their teams to the Final Four? We'll have some Super Bowl picks, and we'll talk live to Dan Issel, a former Kentucky star. So at the end of the half, Kentucky leads by 3, 33-30. We'll return after this word from your local station. In Louisville by 3 points. And you know, earlier this year, there were allegations of recruiting abuses by the University of Kentucky made in a Lexington newspaper. And I talked to Cliff Hagan, the Kentucky athletic director, a short time ago. He said the investigation was still ongoing. And so far, there is no word as to whether or not there is going to be any penalty at all of the university. Some of the allegations were made by former players here at Kentucky, and one of whom had been kicked off the team several years ago. Now, who are the key men around the country who are capable of leading their school into the Final Four? There are quite a few, and Billy Packer wrote down his favorites.
Big Daddy Latin did it in 1966 when Texas El Paso was still Texas Western. And Cincinnati's Paul Hogue provided the same service for his Bearcats in '62. And Louisville's own Darrell Griffith obliged for the Cardinals 6 years ago. Each of these are what I call Final Four factors. If they play to their potential, their team has a shot at the national championship. This year's candidates, well, let's begin with Georgia Tech's John Sally. Tech was preseason #1, and if Bobby Crimmon's Yellow Jackets are going to get off the ground, John Sally's going to have to rise to the occasion.
Oh, I agree with Billy totally. I think John is a franchise player. He's a great player. He's not playing extremely well right now, but he's the key to our team.
Michigan's muscle is center Roy Tarpley. He, like Sally, has not played to their potential so far, but he must if the Wolverines are going to make it to Dallas.
If we're going to be successful and get that far, then he's going to have to get to where he's playing like he did last year.
Seems like every year Dean Smith has one of those kind of guys, and this year is no exception. Brad Daugherty's performance has been outstanding. He's averaging 17 points a game and shooting almost 70% from the field. Larry Brown recruited this Final Four factor right out of the state of North Carolina. Danny Manning is the kind of player who can make things happen just by his presence on the court.
Once I get out there and I get going, I think I have the ability to help a lot of other players on our team get going.
To me, the great ones make other players better, and he does that.
If Georgetown's going to make a return trip to the Final Four, Reggie Williams is going to have to be the determining factor. The MVP in the '84 championship, this year Williams has the center stage. And Big East rival Syracuse strings its hope on the performance of the Pearl Washington, the man with panache. But he's also learned that he can lead by example.
If the guys see me, you know, supposedly an All-American going out and playing hard and busting his butt, and they say, well, if he want to do it, why can't we do it?
And to round out our top 7, it wouldn't be complete without mentioning a guy you've been watching today. Louisville's Billy Thompson. He's got it all.
What about that other fellow we're watching today, Kenny Walker? I'd put him on my list.
Well, you probably would, Brett, but I really think that to get to the Final Four, you also have to have that supporting cast. I would find Kentucky having a hard time getting that Final Four without somebody in the middle.
And what about Walter Berry?
Walter Berry's doing it all this year. I'd like to really even apologize to him. I thought he'd be disruptive for St. John's this year, you know, trying to be the star of the ball club. Instead, he's been the leader. He's been great in practice. His performances on the court have been out of sight. I just don't think they're a Final Four team when it gets down to it.
And there's nobody from Duke on that list.
Well, I think Duke is a team kind of like Villanova, and the fact that all the pieces have to work together for the Final Four being in their hopes. And I don't see somebody putting that team on the back in that last month of March and taking them all the way.
You get all the mail from Kentucky and Duke and St. John's. We're going to continue. We're going to have a word or two with a former Kentucky star, Dan Issel, in just a moment. Wildcats lead Louisville by 3 at 33-30. Meanwhile, in the AFC wildcard game, Ken O'Brien has just thrown a 10-yard touchdown pass to Johnny Hector. The Jets lead the New England Patriots. It is 7-3. And, of course, tomorrow on CBS, 12:30 Eastern Time, we'll start our coverage. It'll be the NFC wildcard, the 49ers against the Giants. And, you know, there's a lot of folks down here in Lexington who have very strong opinions as to who might be going to the Super Bowl. We asked them.
I think the Chicago Bears, not only because of William the Refrigerator Perry, but because they have sweetness, Walter Payton.
Miami, because I'm from Florida, and I think Miami going to win.
Super Bowl, the Dallas Cowboys. The bottom line, I think, is Tom Landry. Coaching's going to win it this year.
My favorite team is the Raiders, and I picked them to win it because of their great secondary. But Chicago is looking real tough, but I don't think they'll be able to get through San Francisco.
And former Kentucky star Dan Issel, who do you think is going to the Super Bowl this year?
Well, being from right outside Chicago, I got to go with the Bears, Brad. I would have picked the Broncos, but at 11-5, they can't even get in the playoffs.
Dan, I know you've retired from the NBA. You live very close here, and you raise thoroughbred racehorses. I saw you at practice. What's the difference that you see with this Kentucky basketball team under Eddie Sutton?
Well, Coach Sutton has got them playing great defense, and I think any other club that had the lack of size that they have would not be able to compete at the level that they do. But they have such great outside defense that even today they're holding off the big inside game of Louisville.
Exactly. 22 broodmares, I think you told me. Our director, Bob Fishman, wants an early line. You got any Kentucky Derby winners you're raising there, Danny?
Well, I hope we have some Kentucky Derby winners, but they'll be a year or two down the line.
All right, Danny, good luck and nice to see you.
Thank you, Brad.
All right. We'll come back with Billy Packer when we continue from Lexington, Kentucky in a moment. Kentucky leading by those 3. An update on the AFC wildcard game. 41-yard field goal by Tony Franklin. New England now trailing the Jets by a point. Tony's younger brother, Eric, kicks for Texas A&M, and Billy Packer will be able to see him in the Cotton Bowl coming up Wednesday afternoon on CBS. That was a sly way for me to throw it.
I guarantee you that was some segue. and something that you would know that. I mean, I'm not into that football the way you are, Brent.
Well, you're into this basketball, kid, and Danny Issel said defense. I thought Kentucky played very well defensively.
I really do. What Eddie Sutton said to his team yesterday, I'm sure Denny Crum probably said to his club at halftime, and that is that Louisville's getting the ball over half court, and they're never getting into their offense, and that's because Kentucky's playing great half-court man-to-man. I think the second half will see Louisville much more patient when they get that ball on offense.
We have been very impressed with Purvis Ellison so far.
I really am. I liked his composure. Obviously, he has all the tools. He can shoot, but he can catch the ball, and he didn't force the action. He played like he's a senior out here. Certainly one of the best freshmen in the country.
Should be a good second half. One of those games going to go right down to the closing minutes, and we're going to come back with the second half right after these messages from your local stations.
Cardinals and the Kentucky Wildcats is sponsored by today's Chevrolet, who invite you to live the style, performance, and fun of Chevrolet in '86. Visa, accepted worldwide for shopping, dining, and travel. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. And by Kentucky Fried Chicken. Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right.
Well, let's acknowledge some of the many holiday basketball tournaments that are going on right now, and let's take a look at who will be playing each other for the championship. Down in Oklahoma City, it'll be those Sooners who are red hot going against SMU. In Kansas City, a battle for the bragging rights to Kansas. Wichita State will be going up against Larry Brown's Jayhawks. Now, out in Las Vegas, UAB and Gene Bartow. They'll take on Jerry Tarkanian and UNLV. Down in Atlanta, it'll be Georgia Tech on a roll. John Sally back at power forward for that team. And look at what Navy did, upsetting DePaul. The Blue Demons have lost 3 in a row. And you can see that Boston College dumped Wisconsin by a field goal. And so down in the Fiesta Bowl, they'll match up against Arizona in the championship there. And Memphis State in the Holiday Bowl goes into the final against North Carolina Charlotte. And also the Hoosier Classic. Bobby Knight with a sluggish first half. They came back in the second half against Idaho, and they'll play Mississippi State. And then the Orange Bowl, it'll be Brown against North Carolina. But I'll tell you what, Billy, if I was Brown, I might not show up taking a look at that 129-45s. Come on, Dean, play the cheerleaders when that happens.
I don't know. They're awful strong. And here's your last sequence here. Pittsburgh on a roll. Tennessee, that's a pretty big upset right there, in my opinion.
You have Southwest Louisiana beat them. And then, of course, Billy, down in Tampa, we've got South Florida up against Miami of Ohio, dumping Virginia Tech.
Harper is an outstanding player, and Del Curry for Virginia Tech has probably played as well as any player in America so far. One of those Metro Conference teams, Metro Conference with this Louisville club we're watching today, Memphis State and Virginia Tech, very tough.
And earlier today, St. John's winning the Holiday Festival title, 85-69. So the Redmen continue to roll.
Their only loss, of course, to Duke.
Start the second half. Louisville with possession. The ball knocked away from Crook out of bounds. They will maintain it.
One of the interesting stats there at halftime, Kentucky with a 10-rebound advantage. And everybody thought that maybe Louisville would have the advantage on the boards, but Kentucky's extended them completely.
Especially offensively.
Oh, Fergus Ellison missing a chippy. He'll gain a little extra body strength just with an aging process, and that'll be a jam in another year.
Bennett out high. He is playing the game of his life. His career high is 18. He checked in at the intermission with 15. Walker looking for Harden, who was cutting. But Bill Wagner took away his route to the basket.
Bill Wagner made a great defensive play to stop Blackman at halftime. Blackman, a good one-on-one player.
Harden coming inside, goes to Blackman, and that was Harden penetrating and finding the open man.
Bill Wagner really let him go baseline. Makes one good defensive play and then costs himself.
Crook rising in the air, got the bounce. Keeps Louisville within 3 points.
Crook has that big height advantage over Blackman. Here we go for the 2-2-1 full court press. Now you can watch Kentucky tried to spread it out. Louisville stays right in the zone press until Kentucky beats it. Then they drop back into the man-to-man.
Crook is taking Blackman defensively. Wagner going inside with Davenant. Harden. Walker getting low, and he gets doubled underneath, and it's Bennett with an offensive rebound. These Wildcats are scraped for everything against you underneath that offensive glass, Billy.
Well, everybody's crashing. I really think that Louisville may have an opportunity if they can get something off the glass to fast break Kentucky, because Kentucky driving 4 men to the boards right now. Denny Crum was worried a little bit about foul trouble, but he's in pretty decent shape in that regard. Didn't get much play off his bench.
Wagner.
That play is called Marquette. And Louisville got that from the great Marquette teams at Al McGuire, and they still use it in their arsenal to run that guard on the backside for the lob.
It's a 1-point game here early in the second half.
Bennett and Walker have been responsible for that rebounding on the inside. They're having a hard time getting Kenny Walker the ball down low. Every time he gets it, he has to step out. Louisville really aware of him, double teaming any time he gets down low.
Okay, let's go.
They're looking for Kenny Walker.
Shot clock is down to 5. Ball rebounded. Louisville can take the lead.
There's that opportunity to break.
And they do.
See, Brent, that's been available. Kentucky crashing everybody to the board, so you're going to be susceptible to the fast break. And Eddie Sutton may have to be thinking timeout here. His team's losing some of that momentum.
Harden dishing to Blackman. Missing off the glass. Winston Bennett powering in. A chance for a 3-point play. And Winston Bennett is showing why he was so highly regarded coming out of high school.
Again, offensive rebounding. Here's Bennett coming through. Ellison doesn't get there quite in time. Bennett just overpowers him. He's talking about big credentials. I don't know if anybody else has ever done it before, but Winston Bennett, coming out of high school, was the MVP in the McDonald's national game as well as the Capital Classic game. I don't think anybody has ever had that twosome going for him as the MVP.
He's hit 7 of 11 from the field. Total of 18 points as he gets the free throw roll and
ties his career high. 18 points. He got almost a whole half to go.
Ellison misfiring that time. Blackman with the rebound. Davender, Walker coming quickly to the attack, and here's Bennett again. Coming up on Ellison. Rebounded Thompson. Here's Wagner for Louisville. Defensively, Kentucky was back this time. Wagner with a nice spinning move inside.
Milt's 6'5", and he just went right over Harden. And there again, Louisville taking advantage of that fast break opportunity. Now they're in that 2-2-1 press.
Kentucky, except for the first time, has been able to come up with some patience, bring it across the midcourt line. Almost. Blackman brings it out. Davender waits for Harden. The three-guard attack of Eddie Sutton. Blackman cutting inside.
Harden may have to look for his jump shot a little bit. Nice move.
With a splendid spinning move, a right-handed shot.
Harden came out of his shell in the NCAA tournament last year and looked like he played nice and loose and free. He's a former Mr. Indiana basketball man.
Thompson losing it. Here comes Harden. It's 2-on-1. Harden.
He walked.
He traveled and turned it over. Sutton can't believe it. He said he was in the air.
He took his steps gathering himself. Eddie Sutton didn't like it. Billy Thompson had a careless play to lose that when he tried to put it between his legs down to the other end.
We've got a timeout. 15 minutes and 20 seconds to go here in the second half. The Wildcats lead it by 2, and we'll be right back in Lexington. Least like to see with the ball, the score tied, 2 minutes to go. We put that question to Don Haskins of UTEP.
Hi, I'm Don Haskins. The 5 players I'd least like to see with the ball include Ron Kellogg, Brad Doherty, Johnny Brown, Steve Alford, and if we were playing Georgia Tech, a guy from my hometown, I'd really hate to see him with it, Mark Price.
One of the coaches I'd least like to see on the opposing bench is Don Haskins, too. Look at the job he did, upsetting Georgetown, 78-64.
Held them under 40% shooting. Billy Thompson backing in, tried to get the lob, called for a charge. That's his 3rd foul, and Denny Crum's got a problem there if Billy Thompson were to get any further trouble. He didn't get a good play out of his freshman coming in off the bench so far today, and he needs Thompson to stay in this ballgame.
Ellison, the leading scorer for the Cardinals, 11 points so far, and of course Bennett with 18, and here's Walker missing. Ellison rebounding. Louisville can tie it. We've got 14:50 to go. Thompson rising up, and he traveled.
Kentucky looked like they intimidated Billy Thompson a little bit that time. He realized men were around him, tried to make a play that wasn't there. Might have been able to go straight on up to the basket. But just when you thought, or I thought anyway, Brent, that Kentucky was losing their momentum, they've been able to get it back now. They seem more confident again. Thompson on Walker. Be a good time to take Walker down in low and make Thompson play him. There he is.
Walker going to work. Into the glass.
That's a smart move by Kentucky. They recognize they had Thompson, who's got that foul problem. Nice dish. Crook. Good pass by Ellison.
Nice pass by Crook.
taking Walker this time. They hit Blackman and Hall fouled him, pushed him in the back.
Really kind of an unnecessary foul because Hall was in good position with Blackman going all the way across the lane.
Now Sutton will switch his attack from the three-guard offense. Madison, 42, coming in, and Blackman sits down.
Now, Brent, you were into all that football today. And here's a guy by the name of Madison. And if you look at him, you figure, well, he played football in high school, must have been a tight end. He's a quarterback. I mean, is that a pretty good-sized quarterback?
No shot. And there was a foul underneath by Crook, and that's 4 personal fouls on Crook.
Then he can replace Crook for the moment, but he doesn't want Billy Thompson to get another one. He's got McSwain he can put in. Can go back to Kimbrough, who's really been under the weather. That's who it's going to be, Kimbrough.
In the second half, Louisville has been whistled for 4 fouls, and Kentucky not 1 yet. Madison.
Mobile for a big man. Good outside jump.
Harden, and he was fouled by Hall, and quickly Hall picks up his second personal.
You notice how Harden's causing a lot of problems with his penetration. Well, he hadn't been looking for his jump shot. He's keeping that offense moving nicely. His father was a college coach, played at Indiana. Got a brother that went down to Florida, now plays at Valparaiso. I understand his youngest brother is an outstanding high school player.
Off the dribble, missing the layup, but it was nice penetration that time. Wagner, right to the pass. Davender knocked it out of bounds.
Oh, he saved 2 there. A super play by Davender. Oh, that's just good hustle.
Harden reaching around, fouled Hall.
A little bit of a touch foul. Denny Crum cheers the referee, realizing that's the first Kentucky foul.
And, of course, tomorrow, the NFL Today at 12:30 Eastern Time. Before the Giants and the 49ers, Joe Gibbs and Dick Vermeil will be along. 5. Loose, goes out of bounds, and over to Kentucky.
Fred Kimbrough's really having a rough time now. Denny Crum didn't expect him to even play today, but since he is playing out there, he just has not been able to get the handle on the ball.
Madison. It's a 4-point Kentucky lead. Into Ellison and Walker. Called for that personal. That's his 3rd.
Good positioning by Ellison. Had Kenny Walker on the front. He just held him well as he's able to go ahead for the lob. But Kenny Walker had a great Western Regional last year.
We talked about all the depth on Louisville. They have scored only 2 points off the bench.
Which is really different than everything that's happened to them this year because their freshmen, their young players have really been coming off that bench and playing well. Not getting the performance today. Pressure in this game.
That field goal by Wagner was his 4th of the game. He has a total of 9 points. Davender missing, and Louisville can tie it. Wagner, with all that experience going for him, patiently goes to the glass, missed the shot. Walker's off of Kentucky, and here's Harden. Cross to Madison. Bennett.
Eddie Sutton's club is doing exactly what he wanted. You know, if they don't get that fast break, they pull it back out there and make Louisville work on defense.
Walker looked just a touch tired when he came down the floor this trip. Let's see if he can catch his breath quickly.
Plays about 29 minutes a game.
Harden coming to the glass.
And he's been taking Hall time and again with that penetration.
Wildcats by 4 at the 11-13 mark. Steal but out of bounds, and Louisville keeps it.
You notice when Billy Thompson caught that ball, he was looking for the weak side defender coming over there. Took his eye off it.
So we'll be right back in Lexington. 4, and in that AFC wildcard game, time running out in the first half, Tony Eason goes 36 yards to Stanley Morgan. It is 13-7. The Patriots with the lead over the Jets. And of course, there's a man who's enjoying himself in this arena. He used to be under a great deal of pressure. The former coach of the Wildcats, Joe B. Hall, talking to the folks there behind him. It's hard to believe, but in 55 years, only 3 men have coached Kentucky. Adolph Rupp, Joe B. Hall, and now, of course, Eddie Sutton. Come on, Joe B., turn around there. Get a little camera time. There we are. There's the smile. All right, nice to see you, Joe.
Looks 15 years younger.
Doesn't he, though? Well, there's our foul situation in this game. You can see Cook with the 4, Thompson with 3, and for Kentucky, the big one would be Kenny Walker with 3. 11-11 to go. It's 46-42. Kentucky leading by 4 points.
Walker out of there with Jenkins on Ellison.
This is Kimbrough, one of the talented freshmen, getting inside, and that should help him a great deal.
High school All-American, certainly has great talent to play any position on the floor.
Pulled the Cardinals to within a field goal.
Long arm, sits down well on defense. Ooh, he stepped out, almost had it picked off.
Walker wrestling, Jenkins inside. Hannigan threw up one. He had penetrated well, but he didn't have control of his shot.
He's trying to, now it looks like he's trying to do too much penetrating on the inside. Nobody's moving to get the pass from him.
Here's Kimbrough again this time, passing inside to Ellison. Freshman tries to keep it alive. Kimbrough's got it back. Wagner ships to Thompson. Thompson fouled by Bennett. That is his first personal foul of this game.
Ellison thought he was fouled on the inside. He's going to have to get a little bit stronger in the inside with those hands because the rest of his game is all there. There's Harden coming out. Eddie Sutton just wanting to calm down a little bit.
Blackman has not shot well for Kentucky this afternoon. He's only 3 of 11. Harden goes out 2 of 5.
Blackman's only shooting 42% on the year, and if they're going to play 3 guards, you're going to have to hit a little better than that.
Thompson can tie it with this free throw. From the floor, Louisville has hit 56% and Kentucky only 42%. But Kentucky has had an edge in the offensive rebounding category.
See those huge hands of Billy Thompson. He'd only been shooting 60% from the free throw line. Obviously better than that. In the career, he's been a 71% free throw shooter.
We're tied for the 4th time here in Lexington. We come down toward the 9:50 mark.
And remember, with the 45-second shot clock, it stays on the entire game, so there'll be no delay game today or any other day in college basketball.
Bennett. Lavender shifts to Madison. Madison getting it inside to Bennett, and he was fouled. He expected Madison to shoot. He'd almost turned completely around.
That was a great catch by Bennett. And just as you pointed out, Brent, he turned to look for the rebound and was able to see out of the corner of his eye the ball coming his way, and that's a tough ball to catch. Nice play.
Kimbrough's first personal foul, and Skywalker. Kenny Walker returns on the game. He is only 4 of 10 from the floor, and he's missed 2 free throws. Hall sitting down for Louisville, and Bennett tying his career high, and all 5 of those rebounds are offensive rebounds.
Good stroke by Bennett. He's shooting right up there around 86% on the year.
Last year, it was such a one-man Kentucky team with Walker, and now if Bennett is going to play like this, that'll be such an asset for them.
But Kentucky's offensive rebounding for the size of their ball club has been amazing today. They've got good quickness, and they pound the boards well.
14-3, they have an edge in offensive rebounds. Blackman coming inside, and he was fouled by Thompson.
Now, Billy Thompson got himself caught in a let a man go baseline. Here he's totally out of position. You can see that Wagner didn't realize that Blackman was even coming in behind him. Billy did not protect the baseline and got caught.
They'll have to take him out. Crook checking in, and Thompson with 4 personal fouls sits down at the 9:16 mark.
Denny Crum would like to be able to go to that bench to some of the freshman players, but they had a rocky first half, those that came in off the bench. Might see Mark McSwain back in here shortly.
So what we're going to have here is one of those early season blood pressure tests. One of these games that reeks for all the world like mid-March. It's only late December. Taken away by Bennett. He got it out of Ellison's hands and hit the field goal.
How many times today have we seen Ellison almost get a rebound and have it shocked away from him? Crowd getting into it.
Those 70 Louisville fans are being badly out-cheered right now.
Sensational catch.
Ellison with another field goal, and on the afternoon, the freshman center is 5 of 9 from the floor.
And had the composure to go down the court and tell the referee he got hit on the arm. He's still talking to the referee.
8:30 to go.
Walker's open. He's got Wagner on him. Ellison comes back and makes the switch.
Kenny Walker rejected. Kimbrough, the freshman.
Ellison got a piece right over to Kimbrough. Well, he's showing some fight in him.
And Crook ties the score at 50. We're at the 8-minute mark here in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm Brent Musburger along with Billy Packer. We're tied. It's Louisville 50, Kentucky 50.
It's just like the Final Four, Brent. Seems like we're right back in the month of March. I mean, these teams are playing extremely well. So well coached, and they've got some quality athletes.
Got a timeout here in the sold-out Rupp Arena. We'll be back. We're tied at 50 right after these messages from your local stations. Time. Meanwhile, the AFC wildcard game has gone to the half. The New England Patriots leading the New York Jets 13-7 on that 36-yard pass from Tony Eason to Stanley Morgan. And Tony Franklin has kicked a pair of field goals for Ray Berry in that game. Here, Billy Packer, let's tell the folks that have joined us at halftime of that AFC game what has transpired here so far in our college basketball action.
Well, we've got two teams that certainly rank among the top, let's say, 15 in the country. They're both extremely well coached. Defensively, Eddie Sutton has shown us that he's taken what he did at Arkansas and brought it right here to Kentucky and installed it in a hurry. They played tough man-to-man pressure defense. They've taken that game, a half-court game, away from Louisville a great deal. I think we're sitting in a situation now here where foul trouble is going to be very important. That being on Billy Thompson with 4. Kenny Walker's got 3. Neither team can afford to end this game without both of them on the floor.
Stavanger for Kentucky. Goes to Blackman. One of 3 starting guards for the Wildcats. The third one, Harden, is out right now, and Sutton is going with a bigger lineup against Louisville. Madison, 42, goes to Bennett, who has played a sensational game. Almost loose. Blackman saved it and got it to Davender. Remember, it's a 45-second shot clock this year in college basketball. 5 seconds. Madison missing. Kenny Walker coming back, and it's blocked underneath, but there was a foul by West.
That was Ellison on the block. West got a piece of Kenny Walker. How often do you see Kenny Walker grabbing that offensive rebound? Look at Purvis Ellison coming across the lane. All ball, made the block, but the foul took place earlier.
Kenny Walker with 8 points today. Last year in a Kentucky loss in Louisville, he scored 32 points. Denny Crum told me if Kenny Walker scores 40 and we shut everybody else out, we'll win. But if he scores 15 and the rest of the Wildcats get 15, I'm in trouble. Well, Bennett has scored 21 already here this afternoon, and Blackman has 9. So it's been some balanced scoring. Walker not carrying the entire load. Wearing the goggles because the eye was scratched, and a Kentucky loss to Kansas. Their only loss so far this season. They were blown out in Lawrence. I had an opportunity to watch that game, and I really think Kansas would have beaten anybody in the country on that floor that night.
They're going to be a factor in this Final Four run before it's all over with.
This is Milt Wagner, who missed all of last year because of a broken bone in his foot. Aim injury that Darrell Griffith, the former Louisville star, suffered in the NBA.
Well, that was great defense by Bennett. He realized McSwain's not going to shoot from out there, so he stayed inside to help out on Ellison.
West regaining control in the corner under the pressure. Wagner looking for an open man, and Kentucky forces a turnover. Here is Blackman. The Wildcats lead it by a point. 6:50 to go in regulation. Walker taking Purvis Ellison, the rookie center. Call him a rookie. He's a freshman down low. Loose. Swain trying to come up with it. Bennett dives for the ball, and a foul is called on West.
West was going for the ball again, but there's Bennett with all of that strength. Just able to overpower him. And Bennett, a good free throw shooter, going to the line. Big advantage now for Kentucky, already in that 1-1 and have been. Louisville not there, not even close.
At the line, Kentucky is 9 of 14 this afternoon, and Louisville is 6 of 7. Give you an idea of how well Winston Bennett has played. He already has his career high, 21 points, 6 rebounds, and he has hit 5 of his 6 free throws so far.
Good follow through on that foul shot. Denny Crum realizing he's got to get Billy back in the ballgame.
And with 5 personal fouls, Billy Thompson from Camden, New Jersey. I should say with 4. Checking back in. I already had him over there on the sideline. Harden coming in for Kentucky.
Denny Crum would like to be able to finish this game with Billy Thompson on the floor, because he's got to have him come crunch time. If you're Eddie Sutton, you're sitting over there saying, let's see who Thompson matches up with and see if he can just get the ball inside one time, make him really guard somebody in a tough situation.
They've been doing a good job with Milt Wagner defensively so far. Crook.
Really get that ball down low to Ellison, but Kenny Walker doing a good job on it.
Now they get it to Ellison, but he's out by the free throw line.
He was looking to dump inside.
And that was Madison who had sealed up Cook on the other side. Now 6 seconds on that shot clock, and the personal foul is called on Bennett. It's his second personal.
Still not in the 1-1 situation, so Kentucky can afford a few more.
Here's West.
Unusual shot for him to take.
Harden. Kentucky can open a 5-point lead here against Louisville.
Billy Thompson with Kenny Walker. See if they try to get it down into him.
Madison coming out and bringing Ellison with him, and now it's Walker.
You notice how Louisville switches at all times. They don't worry about those matchups because they have good size everywhere.
Madison.
6 seconds. He's a good jump shooter. Denny Crum thinking timeout.
He'll call one.
His players didn't see it in time.
Didn't see it, so they passed the field goal, and he still wants the timeout. He'll get it now, but he's 2 points closer once he gets possession of the ball. Louisville did not see it until after they had scored. Walker.
Denny will take one now. His players still don't see it, but he wants the timeout. Nobody looking at him.
I can't believe it. Bill Wagner saw him after that field goal. They missed that time. Yanked down by Madison. Here is Harden. And the foul is going to be called against West. That's 3 personal fouls, but what has to upset Crum more than anything is the fact that he's been trying to get a timeout their last 2 trips down the floor.
Now, there was a case where you watch the replay, and if West would have just held his ground, he might have been able to pick up the charge, but he leaned on over there and took that unusual position and didn't help out. Now, what Denny Crum's talking to West about, remember that shot that he took, let's say 3 or 4 times down the court? He's not really that good a shooter. They had a lot of time on the clock, and he put up a quick jump shot. Kentucky getting in the driver's seat here.
That's their biggest lead, 6 points. And it swells to 7. Now we've got a timeout. As to who they'd least like to see with the ball in the last few minutes. Here's what Dick Versace of Bradley had to say.
Hey, this is easy. Dick Versace is top 5. John Sherman Williams from Indiana State. The Pearl Washington from Syracuse. Johnny Dawkins from Duke. Steve Mitchell from UAB. And Ron Harper, a surprise from Miami of Ohio. He's terrific.
Hey, Dick's got a little pizzazz.
He's got a lot of pizzazz.
He's the Jim Valvano of the Midwest.
Well,
right?
when you look at his hair, you know, it was kind of funny what they said to Eddie Sutton. We like our bourbon and our hair straight in Kentucky. But I guess they're liking Eddie Sutton right now, the way he coaches his ball club.
They'll take the hair a little curly with this record. Foul called against Bennett.
Oh, and if you're Eddie Sutton, you don't want to foul now. That's their 5th team foul, so it doesn't put Louisville on the line, but you don't want to stop the clock. Make them work hard for a basket.
Kentucky leading by 7. We've got 4:17 to go here in regulation time.
Because Kentucky's already in the 1-and-1 shooting opportunity.
Brooks. Here's Wagner.
That should be a foul, and he got away with it. Kenny Walker got away with one there. Good pressure. Kentucky's done a nice job. Remember the first possession they had today, they lost the ball against the press. They haven't done it since. Harden's wide open. He would not have done that a year ago. He's just playing with so much more confidence right now. When you're Mr. Basketball at Indiana, you're supposed to shoot a jumper, aren't you?
Wagner.
Trying to bring it back all by himself.
Madison rebounding for Kentucky. A 7-point lead by Sutton and the Wildcats. 3:20 to go in regulation.
College players aren't used to the 45-second clock. It's still a lot of time in the game, and I think that one was put up a little quickly by Milt Wagner.
Madison. Ball. Passes to Crook. Inside of 3 minutes to go.
Billy Thompson out here with Harden. Madison has given good performance off the bench today. You knew that Eddie Sutton had to get it from either Locke or Jenkins or Madison. One of those three is eventually going to move into that spot.
Then it sends it back to Davender.
Great block.
And an important trip for Louisville. It's 3-on-1. Crook hitting Wagner. And the Cardinals are right back in it. It's 61-58 at the 2:22 mark.
Notice how Crook stayed under control that time. Harden was going to try to pick up a charge. Good comeback. Both of these teams have a lot of heart.
Timeout called by Eddie Sutton and Kentucky. The Wildcats lead 61-58. They were up by 7. It's down to 3. We'll be right back. It's remaining here in Lexington, 61-58. A timeout situation. Denny Crum with 4, Sutton with 3, having used 1 just a moment ago.
Brent, we have that arrow which becomes all important in the collegiate game with the alternating jump ball, and when you get down to this tight a ball game, Kentucky has that to their advantage. They get the next jump ball. They also are in a super situation in terms of the fact that they're in the 1-and-1. Louisville is not.
Kentucky will inbound. It'll be Harden.
You the exception of Madison in the ball game right now, both teams have their original starting lineup on the court. Waiting for Kenny Walker to touch that ball down low. They've had a hard time getting the ball inside.
They switch on him. Ellison taking him as he came through to the other side. Davender maneuvering on Hall. Comes up with an off-balance shot. Gets away from Madison. And Walker's there. It's rejected by Ellison. And Madison, that's goaltending by Ellison. No question about it. But the freshman hung tough underneath.
He can get off the floor. Those were two quick leaps right off the floor against. Good save by Kenny Walker. There's one block by Ellison, and there's the second one.
Hall gets inside to Crook.
Tough shot.
Rebounded by Ellison. Thompson. Loose. Kentucky on the turnover.
Harden got a piece of that ball. Now Kentucky can afford to sit on it. Use up the 45. Unless they get an absolute layup, they ought to take it right down as far as they can on the 45. They're down to 26 seconds.
Leading by 5. Foul by Hall with 41 seconds to play.
Well, you have to start thinking about fouling a little bit, but you have to pick out the right people. Harden came into the game 3 for 4. 75% free throw shooter. And looking up there now, Brent, with only 41 seconds to go, down 5. Louisville's almost going to have to foul immediately in the next Kentucky possession. And Harden can seal it right here. Sutton wants the timeout. He's going to make sure that that club knows there's 41 seconds to go and exactly what he wants done with that ball.
Is raging. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have the Battle of the Big East. The Georgetown Hoyas against the St. John's Redmen. Live, 2 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS, January 11th from Madison Square Garden. And that'll be followed by Notre Dame against DePaul or USC against Washington. Louisville bringing it up with time running out on them. They must shoot now quickly and get their pressure defense at work. The lob, stuffed in by Billy Thompson. 29 seconds to go. A timeout is called. And Louisville goes over to the sideline. They are within 5 points, 29 seconds remaining. You know, Billy, while we've got a moment, I want to send along a special greeting to Murray Hayden. He, of course, was that artificial heart recipient back on February 17th. And I know that he's watching up in Louisville on station WHAS with his wife, Juanita, 3 children and his 4 grandchildren. He's a big college basketball fan. And Murray, we hope you've enjoyed this one. And we want to thank our crew for the job they did here in Lexington. Our executive producer, Kevin O'Malley, who earlier today, of course, was helping bring us the Sun Bowl out of El Paso. Bob Deacus, our producer. And our usual outstanding job of directing by Bob Fishman. And thanks to Bob Matina, the associate producer, who put together all of our Around the Rims and the rest of our outstanding crew here in Lexington.
Brent, before this game, we talked about what were going to be some of the keys to win a ball game. I really thought Kentucky had to handle the press. They did that an excellent job in that regard. The time of possession to keep Louisville on the defense most of the game. They've done a very good job of that. I thought they had to get good performance out of 1 of 3 guys in that 6th position. Madison really did the job coming in off the bench there. And I thought the size matchup would hurt them against the Louisville guards, but they've really done a nice job inside there. So good all-around performance by Kentucky.
Well, our Chevrolet MVP, certainly no surprise, Winston Bennett of Kentucky and Milt Wagner of Louisville. And a check in the amount of $1,000 will be donated to each college's general scholarship fund to further assist qualified students in all chosen academic fields. 29 seconds on the clock. Louisville trailing by 5, and Kentucky with possession. Here's the pressure in the backcourt. Bennett breaks back to help out, and Louisville will have to foul quickly.
They needed the foul right away. Called it a 1-and-1, not intentional. Beyond Milt Wagner.
Davender coming up to the free throw line, taking a look at some of the Kentucky shooting from this game. Winston Bennett was 9 of 14 from the floor with 25 points. Walker was 5 of 13, total of 11 points. Blackman was 3 of 12 and a total of 9. Davender 1 of 9 and a total of 2, and Harden 3 of 6. But Madison off the bench was 4 of 6 for 8 points. He outscored the Louisville bench all by himself. For Louisville, Crook was 7 of 10. Thompson 3 of 6. Ellison 5 of 10, a total of 13 points. Wagner 8 of 12 and a total of 17, and Hall 2 of 4.
Louisville only got to the foul line today 7 times. That was Kentucky's 21st foul shot.
And the bragging rights belong to Lexington for at least 1 year. Hall from the corner.
Louisville takes
timeout quickly called with 15 seconds to go. We'll come back with the remaining 15 seconds here in Lexington in a moment.
For Louisville, number 23, Chris.
Tomorrow on CBS, the focus is on the NFC wild card. The NFL today will take a look at Phil Simms, his biggest day ever in the NFL. Joe Gibbs, the Washington coach, Dick Vermeil will join us live. Then it's the 49ers and the Giants. 12:30 Eastern time, we'll start. Kenny Walker takes a pass, and he is fouled by Ellison at the 12-second mark. Well, Kenny Walker did not score, but he certainly rebounded today to the total of 14.
Fans wanting that 2-shot intentional foul. But you had a case where Ellison was going for the ball.
Really, that's going to wind up being a very controversial rule.
Well, of course, this year, if a man's going in for that shot, the foul on the shooter, if it's intentional, you get that ball out of bounds also. Bennett again.
Back to Walker. So a little frosting from Winston Bennett, the junior from Louisville, who passed up the Cardinals and then helped give Eddie Sutton a win here this afternoon over Denny Crum. Kentucky will run its record to 8-1, and Louisville will be 6-3 on the season. And Denny Crum will take his freshmen back up to Louisville. They have faced their first important test on the road, and they have found out just how tough it can be in a hostile environment.
You figure both of these clubs have played Indiana, and they've played Kentucky, they've played Kansas. Kansas, of course, coming away with 2 wins. Indiana lost against both of these clubs. Indiana didn't have Steve Alford for the Kentucky game. He was out of sight against Louisville. But both of these teams are going to be the thick of the SEC race for Kentucky and New Mexico.
Smile a little bit. Enjoy this one.
I was kidding him the other day about Jim Valvano feigning on the sidelines the other day in the game against Vegas, and he said it's almost happened to him a time or 2.
Wagner at the buzzer, made it, and so our final score is 69-64. For Billy Packer, I'm Brent Musburger saying so long from Lexington. Join us in 2 weeks for a college basketball doubleheader. The first game will pit Georgetown against St. John's, and you will see either Notre Dame and DePaul or USC and Washington in the second game. Now remember the NFC wildcard game tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Time. NCAA basketball has been a presentation of CBS Sports, home of the NCAA championship. Winston Bennett plays the game of his life, and Kentucky beats Louisville. So long, everybody.
Fly the friendly skies of United, serving more of the nation's top 100 business centers than anyone.
You're not just flying, you're flying the friendly skies.
When you look for champions, you look to CBS Sports. This is
Rick Van Hoos with sports.
Good evening, I'm John McGrath. The UK-U of L matchup for this year is over. Kentucky came out the winner. Action 11's Melissa Swan is in Lexington, where she found the fans are excited about the game as ever, but some of the original hoopla has died down. Melissa?
Another dream game has come and gone. Kentucky fans are leaving Rupp Arena joyous. Louisville Cardinal fans somewhat disappointed, but anxiously awaiting another matchup of the nationally known rivalry. Over the years, the intensity of this game has definitely remained. What has changed is the hype.
Keep that hammer on there. Extremely cautious. And only buy from someone selling the proper ticket.
The entrance to Rupp Arena was all but bare just before game time this afternoon. The so-called Dream Game, the big matchup between the University of Louisville and the University of Kentucky, is no longer the dream that spawns get-rich schemes. Gone are the vendors of 5 years ago. Gone are the T-shirts and bumper stickers made for one day. What is still here is an intense rivalry that excites many Kentuckians, be they Louisville Cardinal or Big Blue fans. But even the hardcore fans admit the dream is not as vivid as it once was.
It's just an intense rivalry, you know. It's not a dream game. I look forward to it, though, every year.
It ain't what it used to be about 3 years ago.
How's it different?
Oh, I think they played 4 years in a row. I think it's kind of weared off a little bit. I think first year they played, though, I think that year is the best. Louisville beat them.
That's a good matchup all the time. I wouldn't say it was a dream game. I think it's going to be a nightmare for U of L.
You must purchase tickets in this area for today's game.
Dream or not, the long-ago sold-out game still brings out fans willing to pay big money to see their favorite teams, and some sellers willing to admit they're scalping tickets.
35, row G.
What are they worth?
What are they worth to you? That's the question.
Well, how much have you been offered?
I've been offered $75 a ticket, but...
You turned it down?
Yeah.
May have been a mistake.
No. Not a mistake here.
Despite its intensity, the rivalry is often friendly. Pre-game entertainment was provided by a bipartisan band. And enjoyed by family members obviously at odds.
Back in Louisville, Paula Campbell watched the Dream Game with a lot of fans.
The Louisville game was a beauty to watch. In the first half, it was a dunk-a-rama, you might say. Louisville will get the steal, and Milt Wagner will get it in his hands and take it in for an early stuff there. Then it's time for freshman Purvis Ellefson to get one off the lob. Billy Thompson floats it into him for another jam. Then it's Kentucky's turn. Winston Bennett played a super game. Watch him make the steal there, and he's going to go all the way in for another dunk. And then Richard Madison, he'll find the loose ball as everybody else is heading down the floor. Richard's all alone for another stuffaroo. But the best belong to Kentucky's Kenny Walker and U of L's Billy Thompson. Watch this one by Walker in the lane. Look how far out he is. He got that one to fall through. Kenny had 14 rebounds. Then Billy will get it low, and watch the slam coming up off the reverse. UK led at the half by 3, 33-30. In the second half, Winston Bennett continued to play super. He was the Superman for the Cats. He'll score on the baseline there. Louisville native led Kentucky to victory. The final score, there you see it, 69-64 in Dream Game number 5. Dave Conrad is in Rupp Arena, and he is live and fixing to tell us his views of this game. David?
What a contrast from inside Rupp Arena, where it was warm this afternoon, hot as a matter of fact, for this battle. With me is Jim Masters. It's chilly out here. Jim, I thought the deciding factor in the basketball game was the offensive board work by the Wildcats.
I think it was the offensive board work, which is ironic because I guess just like anyone else, we all thought that Louisville would out-rebound Kentucky today, but that wasn't the point. A lot of loose balls went Kentucky's way, and it just really seemed like the ball never bounced Louisville's way, but they gave a great showing, and they had nothing to be disgraced about.
For a former Wildcat, is it tough to be sitting there watching the game? Because I know you'd love to be in uniform.
Sure. I mean, you always want to be in uniform. When you're an athlete, I think it carries with you your whole life, and I'd like to have been out there, but the guys really played well, and Louisville represented their school well, and it's fun to come down and watch the games all the time and watch the good players, the Indianas, the Louisvilles, and watch all these great rivalries, and it's a lot of fun from a player standpoint, but also from a spectator standpoint.
You expected Kentucky to win?
I really did, and people might get on me for that, but I thought Louisville had too much for us today, but that just goes to show you how hard Kentucky worked, and Coach Sutton and the players got ready. Great game by Winston Bennett, great game by Roger Harden.
The Cats just wanted it more. Thanks, Jim, for being with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's go back and get warm.
All right.
With Jim Master outside Rupp Arena, I'm Dave Conrad, Action 11 Sports.
We will have interviews tonight at 11 from Dave.
In a fashion where you didn't put them in the 1-on-1 because they're a good free throw shooting ball club, and we were able to do that. And I guess the fourth key would be tempo, and our players in the second half especially really did a good job of milking the clock down and handling the ball until we got the ball in the right spot. And I, too, was really pleased for everyone, and I guess that's the greatest Christmas present and New Year's present the team could give each other and to the coaching staff and to all the great Kentucky fans, not only here in the Commonwealth, but all across the country, because I know there were some victory celebrations taking place last night from coast to coast. But Winston Bennett, I think he had to be the most pleased. He scored more points than he's ever scored before since coming to Kentucky, and just played a marvelous basketball game.
Well, Kentucky led throughout just about the entire game, and let's go to the highlights now, and we'll pick it up just after the opening tap, Coach, and we're going to see Kenny Walker here get a tip in. A lot of good hustle on the boards all afternoon.
Great tip in. Both teams played hard. We had out-rebounded them 36-24, but this is the most intense non-conference game that you'll see year in and year out in the country. There may be matchups between North Carolina and someone else in a given season, but year in and year out, people can continue to watch this ball game and say this is a classic as far as college basketball. Great move by James Blackman. We only shot 42%. There's a great shot of our crowd, and believe me, they played the part of the sixth person yesterday. Kaywood told me that was the most noise he'd ever heard in Rupp Arena. And at 43, the guy just dunked the ball. That's Ellison, and I think he is the best freshman in college basketball. They kept hurting us in the first half. We were overplaying, and they were lobbing the ball back to the basket. And in the second half, we made a little bit of an adjustment. We gave weak side help. Good pass by Roger Harden off to James Madison, and he hits the shot. Richard Madison, I should say. James Madison is one of our presidents.
There's a steal by Winston Bennett.
But Richard came off the bench and was 5 out of 6, and he outscored the Louisville bench all by himself and out-rebounded them. So they were thought to be or have one of the best benches in college basketball. And great tip in by Winston Bennett. And like I said, he had 23 points, 7 offensive rebounds.
And here goes Kenny Walker again.
Good hustle play to keep the ball alive. And that is a major league dunk. Kenny didn't have a great shooting afternoon. He was only 5 out of 13 and had a lot of problems at the free throw line, 1 out of 5. But he did pull down 14 rebounds.
Here goes Winston again to put you up, Coach, by 5, very, very late in the first half. And you went in at halftime 33-30, up by 3.
We felt if we had had better shot selection in the first half, that we would have had a bigger lead than what we had. Great. That's a hustle play right there by Winston, and he got the ball, put it back in, and was able to convert that for the three-point play.
And here goes Roger Harden now. This is quite a move.
I think Roger thought he was back in Indiana playing high school basketball right there, the way he made that move. But Roger Harden was an unsung hero, too, in that he scored 10 points. But he had some big free throws down the stretch, and there's so many things people that don't know basketball, don't understand that a lot of times things that don't show up in the stat sheet, guys like Roger Harden do for you. And he handled that press well. He and Ed and James, all 3 of them.
Louisville played hard. It was hard to shake them.
Well, they play very tough half-court switching man-to-man defense, and that did create some problems for us. Another good hustle play by Winston, and he put the ball back in.
And here goes Purvis Ellison once again. Somehow he held onto that ball and got it in the
He has soft hands. He really has wonderful hands, and like I said, I think he's probably the best freshman in the country. At least he's the best one I've seen. Callaway at Indiana's another outstanding frosh.
That was at about the 5-minute mark. Richard Madison gave you a 5-point lead at 55-50. Milt Wagner came right back at the other end, cut it down to 3.
Well, it looks like Wagner's found his shooting eye. He shot the ball well against Indiana, and he certainly did yesterday against us. Nice pass. Kenny Walker gets an easy 2.
You go back up by 5, and then Roger Harden came down here and simply found himself open and took the shot and
well,
picked it up by
anytime you
7.
play a switching defense, you're going to lose people once in a while, and Roger, I think, shocked everybody in Rupp Arena. We had over 24,000 people when he took that shot. Good defensive play by Louisville, and they didn't give up. They fought back. Good 3-on-1 break. Easy 2 points.
Cut the lead down to 3 at 61-58, but then there was a goaltending call here on Purvis Ellison.
Well, that was a forced shot by Ed, and Ed didn't have a good shooting afternoon, but we felt like they goaltended twice before that, but finally they did call it. I don't think Ellison thought that he goaltended, but I know Billy Packer and Brent Musburger both felt that it was the proper call.
Roger Harden went to the line, so did Ed Davender in the final minute or so, and hit some big free throws for you, Coach, and you were able to seal it up.
We let Wagner come down here and score the last basket, and we end up winning 69-64, and it was a big thrill to be a participant in that ball game. And you can see the 2 coaches and all the coaches shaking hands there at the end of the ball game. So we're 8-1, and we play tomorrow night against VMI in Louisville, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot easier for our players going up to Louisville. The fact that we did defeat the Cardinals, and then of course after that it's conference play, and we'll be talking more about that later in the show. And I might add, I brought my 2 top assistants, Leonard Hamilton and James Dickey, and they'll be on the show later.
What about the future, Coach, of this Kentucky-Louisville series? A lot of the fans wondering, will it go on? There is, of course, a game next year which will be played at Freedom Hall.
Oh, I assume that it's going to go on, Rob. I think it's probably good for college basketball, and we have the greatest fans, the most knowledgeable here in our state. We have one little bit of a problem, and that is I would much prefer not to play Indiana and Louisville either at home or on the road during the same year, and we would like to get that changed around, and I'm sure that Bill Olson, the athletic director at Louisville, and Cliff Hagan, our athletic director, will get that worked out.
Have you seen more intensity in a ball game, Coach, in your career?
Well, most of your intense rivalries in college basketball take place in a conference. For instance, when we play LSU or we play Tennessee, and it's probably the same way for Louisville when they play Memphis State or Virginia Tech or someone like that. But that's why I say I think it is the greatest non-conference basketball rivalry that you can find in college basketball, and Packer and Musburger both agreed after the ball game. I visited with them for a while, and I'm sure they'll come back to televise that game again. And again, I want to thank all those great fans that were in Rupp Arena yesterday, because without their help, we might not have been able to win.
Kentucky 69, Louisville 64. That was the final score Saturday afternoon at Rupp Arena. We'll continue in just a moment with our ticket drawing after this. Stay with us. Announcing